Hello, 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 all my brash and sassy llama loving friends. How are you today? I hope you're amazing. I might. All right, I want to kick this one off with a start on my segments on the 12 steps. So in the last video I posted, I was all excited because I had a couple days in, and I don't have that anymore. I'm not beating myself up because of it. I am counting on you guys to hold me accountable though. What had happened was I started making a log. I'm going to be reading some stuff for this, and this is probably going to end up being at least 2 parts because there's some content that I want to put out there that I found on the internet, mostly today. So what had happened was on February 23rd, which was last Tuesday, I puked. Okay, I ate and I purged. I did not binge, I just ate. I ate too much, like that whole mouth bigger than my stomach thing. It wasn't like I ate and ate and ate and ate and ate. It was just a portion control issue. Like, put it up, be done. It'll be okay. Put it in the fridge, eat the rest of it tomorrow. Yeah, I don't have that I'm working on that self-control. That or just not cooking as much or whatever. I don't even remember what the hell I ate. I think I ate a gigantic salad because I'd been eating salads and fresh fruit for the last 2 weeks. And it was just too much. I should have put like half of it in the fridge, but I didn't. So I ate too fast, and that's how it happens. Wednesday the 24th, I did not throw up. Thursday the 25th, I did not throw up. Yay. That was when I made my video, my last video that I posted. So everything was going good. And then Friday came, right? Pretty much probably about spot on the hour, I failed. It was the weekend and it's nobody's excuse, but I don't even, again, remember what I ate, though I do think it was a gigantic salad again. I threw up. I threw up. Saturday, I did not puke. That's a feat for me because weekends are really bad for me. Weekends is kind of like a binging thing. I need to hurry up. Sunday, I puked. I ate too much. I got Taco Bell for lunch and I ate too much. And whatever, it is what it is. Not whatever, but it happened, and moving forward. Yesterday was weird. I came home and I ate. I didn't eat a lot. I ate some French fries. Honestly, I ate French fries and cheese. Made them myself. And I have an air fryer, and then I got cheese sauce from the store. It was just what I wanted. And I didn't eat a gob of them. But the problem is that I ate a lot of fresh vegetables while the fries were cooking. I have an air fryer, microwave, something else, like conventional oven combo thing, and to cook fries on the air fryer thing, it's a half an hour. So while I was waiting for that to cook, I was snacking on some veggies. It's just veggies, right? Cucumbers, carrots, and celery. And it combined with, I didn't force myself to throw up completely. I'm still counting it as a puke. I'm still saying that I threw up. Because I feel like I would get backlash from y'all if I didn't. But what had happened was I was sitting there and I started I have acid reflux because of this, and sometimes it's worse than others. And sometimes if I burp or whatever, sometimes I can manage it, and sometimes it just gets really bad. And it got really bad last night, and I literally just threw up. Like, I didn't make myself throw up. Like, it got so bad and it hurt so bad, I threw up. But then what had happened too was that it was kind of stuck and it was really uncomfortable, and I made myself throw up for a second to move that so I would feel better. Call it what you want. I'm calling it I threw up. I mean, I did. I ate too much, I guess, but whatever. So I got my little chips in the mail finally that I spoke about in my last video. These are a whole lot smaller than I thought they were, but these will be my daily and weekly ones. So I got, it's backwards, but 24 hours. It's almost 24 hours. In about an hour, maybe hour and a half or so, it'll be 24 hours. Okay. So the steps. I'm not going to dive right into them yet. I don't even know if I'll get it in this like 2-part video. Like I said, I think it's going to be 2 parts. I found some content on the internet today about the 12 steps. I was always 50-50 with the 12 steps. I still am, just because it's so religious, and it does say like non-denominational or God as you know it, but it's still like they use God and they use religion and the power of the power of God and the higher power. Like, they use it a lot, and I'm a very spiritual person, and I believe in higher powers and gods and whatever, but I feel like it's just confined into like your basic Christianity norm, and like that's cool, but it's just a little too much for me. But I'm doing this to see how it goes. Okay. So what I found a couple things. So on top of Eating Disorders Anonymous, there's also Anorexics and Bulimics Anonymous, which I discovered, I think last week, that there was a separate, just like anorexia and bulimia one, as well as a specific Overeaters Anonymous thing. So I was going through this, and I found an article that somebody posted a couple years ago, a writer or something, I don't know. It's very interesting. Like, I agree with some of it and I disagree with some of it. Like, I'm trying to figure out, it's a matter of figuring out the language. It's basically the same damn thing. ABA versus EDA. Again, like the same as AA and NA and what was the other, my pamphlet here. Sexaholics Anonymous, Food Addicts Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, NA. So this is interesting. So this is an excerpt from the ABA, the Anorexics and Bulimics Anonymous handbook or whatever. So everything in like meetings, when you go to, I've been looking at meetings, looking for like bulimia or eating disorder support groups and stuff. You can't find shit if you're an adult for in-person stuff. And then COVID happened and nothing was in person. The EDA website has Zoom links to meetings and stuff, and so does the ABA website. And they start every meeting with the Serenity Prayer, and I am down with the Serenity Prayer. God grant me the serenity, and doesn't matter. God grant me the serenity. So I have the Serenity Prayer on a plaque in my living room. Like, I'm down with the Serenity Prayer. That does not bother me. However, so this says sobriety is surrender, and they use the term sobriety for EDA and ABA and whatever for all this stuff too. And I imagine they probably do with like the Gamblers and Sex Addicts Anonymous and all that stuff. So it says, I am going to read excerpts of this, and it's kind of hard for me to understand some of it. Like, what exactly are they talking about? I don't know. Maybe you can help. So it says, what do we mean by sobriety, and how do we get sobriety? Because, we're not drinking, we're not doing drugs, whatever. We just, So it says 2 questions are probably one of the most common that newcomers of ABA asks. What is sobriety, and how do we get sober? So the ABA came into existence in 1993, and their textbook was published in 2002. And since then, more people have been recovering from their eating disorders by using the ABA approach. I want the statistics. I just do. I didn't even know these 2 programs existed until within the last year, ABA and EDA. I mean, I would like statistics, but I haven't looked at statistics. I guess it's really not that important. So they say the ideas given to us by a higher power who called into existence 2 decades ago, called us into existence, the group ABA into existence 2 decades ago. Now it says there is the quote unquote hands-off food approach. That's real. This is why I have these on my head. What are you gonna do? The hands-off food approach is the suggestion offered by those who have gone before us and found liberation from their anorexic and bulimic obsessions by letting go of control over their food, by completely turning it over to the higher power working through other human beings. We learned often by bitter experiences that anything short of total surrender of food, exercise, weight, and body shape to a higher power is insufficient to allow us to recover from this disease. Our path to recovery works for us. It may work for many others. It may not. Anyone searching for a solution to their eating disorder can see this as giving our recovery away, and it allows us to stay, it allows us to stay sober. So then it says, what attempts did not work for getting sober with an eating disorder? People with eating disorders cannot feed themselves. And it goes into talk about this random psychologist who they call Dr. N, said he himself is a recovering anorexic, and he had to have somebody else assume all responsibility for planning, preparing, and serving his meals. And this person ended up being his wife. And it says for 7 years he did this. So he gave up total control of anything he ate and anything I don't know if he was, like exercising a lot or whatever. Some anorexics like over exercise, I don't know if he was doing any of that, what all he was doing, but anything that had to do with his anorexia and food and what all that stuff, because it lumps food in with exercise and all that stuff too, and a couple other parts in here. So 7 years he did that. I am so sorry, but I get the principle of this, but no. And so I'm confused because this is under what did not work. Okay, let's get that straight. Without knowing it, the good doctor is echoing central messages of ABA and ones that have carried through the entire 20 years of our history. Our inability to feed ourselves was first noted by our pioneering members alongside the discovery of letting go of control of all food and body weight by allowing someone sane to feed us. That's my other problem with this. They use the word insane and insanity referring to people with eating disorders a lot. That's how they refer to people in this. And that's what pisses me off. That's like the biggest thing that pisses me off. And that article that I said that Reuter wrote, she mentions that in there. And I hadn't read this yet. I read that article first. I downloaded this, but I hadn't read it completely through because I was at work. This is what I'm doing. I was on a break, so it's okay. That's why I hadn't read this one yet. I needed to wait. Blah, blah, blah. So it says, here are some methods that we have tried. Continuing to prepare our own food while following certain rigid meal plans devised either by ourselves or by someone else, even a dietitian. Promising to gain weight or to not drop below a certain weight as long as we were allowed to continue preparing our own food. Bunch of stuff like that they were preparing their own food or like using like a dietitian or like some of those meal programs or whatever. I am so sorry. I mean, that's like a fucking strict ass diet, but whatever. So, and it says none of these measures or any others that left us with a sense of control over our food and weight relieved the mental obsession of our disease, our preoccupation with food, our fixation on our body weight, shape, and so forth. In other words, we did not recover. So here it's saying that they didn't recover doing this. This is what they did. However, these meal support helpers, as these individuals feeding us are often called, agreed to take over completely all responsibility for our food, both meals and snacks. Who the fuck is going to do that unless you're in the fucking hospital? If you're in the hospital, if you land yourself in the hospital because of it, sure. Like if you're a child and your parents are doing it, sure. But if you're a grown-ass, and I get the point. But who the fuck is going to do that? You could be Joe Schmo, like me, by myself in Parma, like nobody near me. Who the fuck is feeding me? This guy. This is who's feeding me. Doesn't make any sense. So then it says, here are some of our full meal support methods that have worked for ABA members. Asking a spouse or partner to provide meal support, asking a family member or friend to provide meal support, using a food service, a meal preparation service like Meals on Wheels. Don't you have to be poor to have Meals on Wheels, or like gravely sick, you can't do maybe not gravely, but like severely disabled, like you can't go anywhere, like whatever. Asking for meal support from an organization that regularly feeds group peoples, like a religious community, or a hospital cafeteria or nursing home. So I'm supposed to go to the hospital cafeteria or a nursing home or church for them to feed me? Hiring personal chefs and prepare all of my meals. Let me get right on that. Let's check my bank account and see how that works out. Asking service staff in a restaurant to choose something for me off the menu until they choose something that I don't like or I'm allergic to. I'm not allergic to any foods, by the way, but it's principle. Anybody else? I mean, obtaining recommendations from a dietitian regarding appropriate frozen meals and snacks, purchasing them, and then randomly selecting the food to be eaten at meal or snack time by rolling a dice or drawing a number. That's just too much, y'all. That's just too much. I mean, I want to be healthy as much as the next guy, but this is too much. This is crazy. It talks about dietary restrictions for ethical and religious purposes, like religions that fast every now and then. You could probably, depending on what they choose to do, you can probably count Lent because, you're not eating meat on certain days, and some people give up certain foods for Lent. Mostly it's like chocolate or ice cream, candied sweets and stuff, but, whatever. But like a lot of the Middle Eastern religion, they don't eat certain foods, and then they do a lot of fasting, like Muslims and stuff, exercise, and it talks about exercise and sobriety. Basically, they don't want you to exercise. In surrendering so radically to our higher power in this area, as well as in the area of full meal support, as discussed earlier, it's helpful to remember that letting go of control is not a punishment from a cruel higher power who wants to torture us. Rather, we give all control to this power who loves us and desires for us to do what we cannot do for ourselves. But all of the reactions showed us that, in fact, exercise was a part of our eating disordered behavior and that we needed to follow directions and quit exercising. Really? I'm not a big exerciser, but I know a lot of people who are, eating disorder or not. And if they're, if like the crazy, that overdo it, sure. But we have to quit exercising. Follow the directive to quit exercising. How long is full meal support necessary? It basically talks about how, it's your own timeline. Like that guy, whatever the hell his version of it was 7 fucking years. Whatever. And then after you start to get a little bit better, then it goes to like partial meal support. When you, I didn't read all this. When you go so long and you're doing good, partial meal support, and they only do it sometimes. Certain meals or certain days. It's like weaning you off of a fucking medication. I can't with some of this. How do we deal with our feelings during sobriety? You cry, because crying is healthy, bitch. You don't overreact, and you don't puke because you're sad. That's what I do. Stress, sad, angry, control. I can't control these feelings, but I control what goes in or out of my body. Blah, 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 blah. What does more advanced sobriety look like? You don't have an eating disorder anymore. Or, you kind of... See, that article that I was talking about doesn't like the fact that they say, like, once an anorexic, always an anorexic. Once a bulimic, always a bulimic. That's what EDA and ABA say. Just like AA, NA, GA, all that stuff. That I believed before I knew anything about EDA and its comparisons to AA and all that. I've always said that. For the longest time I've said, like, I've equated it to that. Once I'm like, I will always be bulimic. There will always be that part, no matter how long it's been since I've thrown up on purpose. Like, there will always be that part of me that gets a little iffy, or whatever. I don't know what word I want to use, but like almost not triggered, but something, because like you eat. Eating disorders, you can't stop eating. That's one of the eating disorders, is when you stop eating. So it's like, it's not like AA or Gamblers Anonymous, whatever. You can't just stop doing it. You can't just remove food from your life. So you have to like redistribute that thought process that goes along with it. Like, if I'm an alcoholic, I make myself not drink. And if I've been sober for so long, stressful situations might make me want to drink. A depressive situation, grief, whatever, being around it. Like, I could, somebody that's by me is drinking. I see somebody with, whatever. I'm not an alcoholic, but if I was, that's, sorry, my phone keeps ringing. Spam calls. That I avoid it. I can't avoid food. Not eating isn't my problem. It's eating slightly too much. Most of the time, only slightly too much. Sometimes more than that. Oh, this is my new necklace. It's a lotus with a little moonstone in it. I love it. I just got it. Like wearing it like a choker. I have a safety pin to wear it like a choker because it sits down to about here. I'm just playing with it. So it's hard. It's harder to like, it's not harder, but it's a different kind of hard. It's a different kind of hard because you can't remove the trigger or whatever from your life. It's just, I've always said, I could be purge free for, using the word sober for this stuff, it just sounds weird to me, but like I could be, I don't know what anorexics would say, but I could be purge free for like 10 fucking years and I could still like go to a fucking buffet, in 10 years when we're allowed to go to buffets again. And hopefully I miss Chinese buffets. We had that conversation in another video. So that's obviously a thing. Like in 10 years, if I'm purge free, I go to a buffet again, I'm going to be like, I'm eating too much. I'm going to want to, and hopefully my stomach won't grow and hopefully I haven't, gained 200 pounds by then, but so to be able to like fit more food in my stomach comfortably. But I mean, it's just shit you gotta live with. So there's that. That's just an excerpt from the ABA manual. And that's why I'm like iffy about this whole 12-step thing and the whole like program thing. I don't agree with a lot of that shit. I'm still going to do the steps because I think if I can at least like focus on the steps and what they say, it will help me kind of focus more on reprogramming my mind to not have that urge and that need to puke all the time. Or even if I haven't eaten anything and I get so stressed or angry or depressed or whatever, I'll fucking smash some cookies or chips or make something to eat just to throw up. Because again, like I said before, that's like my self-harm mechanism. I don't cut, I don't, whatever else, but like I don't get falling down like plastered drunk. I don't, I throw up. Not all the time, but a lot of the time I do. So I'm going to briefly skim this. So her issue, this author's issues, I didn't take her name down. It's like some like pen name or whatever. It wasn't, a regular name. Does Anorexics Bulimics Anonymous make sense? It's specifically targeted to ABA, which, like I said, it's ABA and EDA. It's like pretty much the same damn thing. 12 is a 12-step model appropriate for eating disorders, she says. Her issue, or her question, one I've been meaning to tackle for posts for years. I've kept putting it off. It's important because it's part of a broader question about whether eating disorders are diseases or proper illnesses with genetic, neural, and other psychological bases. This should be beyond doubt by now, but in some quarters it seems not to be. And then it has significant implications on how eating disorders are treated and recovery, and how the recovery is understood. The once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic model springs naturally to mind. She references, like, somewhere in here, like, once an anorexic, always an anorexic, or whatever. The pros of the 12 steps. The Serenity Prayer. We've talked about that. The Body, Mind, and Spirit Talk. The ABA membership manual says the only requirement for ABA membership is a desire to stop the unhealthy eating practices that we have come to realize and progressively destroy our lives, physically, mentally, and spiritually. I'm all about the body, mind, obviously, meditations and chakras and all the holistic healings and shit. Step 12 reads, having a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry the message to others suffering from eating disorders and to practice these principles in all our affairs. I skipped some stuff, I think. That was her third pro. The second pro was the illusion of control. We learned that the payoff we receive from the disease for our obedience to the commands is nothing more than a mirage, an illusion of control over our lives and future. Same thing I've been saying. It's a form of control for me. It's a form of control for a lot of people with eating disorders. It starts about weight and then it ends up being about control if you let it spiral. Mind, body, spirit. Pro number 4, the pragmatics of the meetings. A support group. Some of the support group talk can be a little bleh. It just kind of depends. For like that structured type of program, AA, NA, whatever, rather than just a basic support group that doesn't follow these principles and whatever specifically. Again, like, starts with the Serenity Prayer, and then they do all this other stuff. It ends with a religious, like the Lord's Prayer. I think it's in here that says that they end it with the Serenity Prayer again and the Lord's Prayer. Pro 5, other sources of support. The ABA text lists tools that have worked for other participants. Suggestions might include prayer without the belief in a power, taking quiet time for oneself, reaching out to others, maybe either before meals or after meals especially, and having someone in mind for this makes a lot of sense. There would be some people that I would eat with that I would never have the urge to throw up afterwards. It was weird, especially one person. Like, almost pretty much any time I ate with him, I never even thought about it. It was fucking weird. Whereas like any other time, it's just uber habit. Like, oh, I just ate. Time to go to the bathroom. Weird. Finding a sponsor. I've been curious about this. I don't even know how to go about it. Going to meetings, reading. They talk about reading, but they only pretty much talk about reading their own text. Journaling about your feelings and the learning process of your recovery. Service work, helping yourself by helping others. It's kind of like what I'm trying to do here. And I mean, this is more of like this is partially an outlet for me to like express, but I'm hoping I can build it to a community of like-minded people, and we can learn together and help each other. It's also another reason why a lot of recovering addicts of any kind, like especially like alcohol and drug addicts, end up working for alcohol and drug recovery agencies. I have a friend who did that, who's still doing it. I've looked into working for one of the eating disorder facilities near me. Unfortunately, it was too far away. I don't drive, and that was an issue. It was too far away. It wasn't directly on the bus line, and I think it was, but it was a pain in the ass to get there. And I'm not spending 2 hours switching buses. I think it was more than that. But yeah. Pro 6, fear, guilt, shame, making amends, and admitting our mistakes. We learn that the disease's principal weapon is overwhelming and paralyzing fear, and that it holds us in its lethal grip by inducing profound guilt and shame within us. The disease lies to us at every turn. It convinces us that we are to blame for our own sick condition, and that we freely choose to do the insane things that we do, and that we are unlovable. Truth. Blah, blah, blah. The cons. She lists some of her cons. The origins of substance addiction. Or obviously they're easily traced. It uses pretty much the same thing in the 12 steps. No definition of sobriety is offered. Yes, it was. And then a self is kind too rigid. With some class. Who gets to define eating disorder sobriety? Who should I want to aspire to it? Well, I mean, call it what you want. Yeah, if you have the freaking problem. Anyway, wow. I agree with some of her stuff. I don't agree with others. Judgment in hyperbolic terms. The word insane. Insane eating, starving, exercise, and purging behaviors and practices in obedience to a deceptive, immensely powerful voice within our own minds of a disease that is chronic, progressive, and potentially fatal. This cunning and baffling disease. I need to wrap this up. We fail to recognize that we are in mortal danger when we carry out its insane commands. The disease lies to us at every turn. Principal weapon is overwhelming and paralyzing fear. It holds us up in a lethal grip. Didn't I just read that? Profound guilt and shame within us. A mental obsession that compels us to restrict our food and or to binge and purge, coupled with a physical allergy in our bodies that ensures that we will continue restricting or binging and purging once we have begun. Now, the language is annoying, but it's true. I don't like using the word insane. I don't like that word that much. So, I mean, I'll say oh my God, this is insane. If it's just a hectic work day, oh, the phones are insane. Normally I say crazy, same thing, but I don't know. The word insane it's insane. Yeah. Spirituality and religion, her con number 3. I agree with that. So she gives examples. Step 2 says, come to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. I am not insane, okay? I don't need to be restored to sanity by God or what all high powerful being, universe, Allah, whatever. I'm not insane. I mean, I'm a little cray-cray sometimes, but I'm not insane because I'm bulimic. I'm stupid, but I'm not insane. Sorry. You gotta laugh about it sometimes. Step 3 says, we've made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand God. And now she makes a point that they make a point of saying, as we understand, because I believe AA and stuff is saying this kind of terminology with it now too, not just being strict religion, strictly just God, but they still say God. Some people don't believe, a lot of people don't believe in God. A lot of people are atheists. People, they believe in Allah or whatever, whoever. Some get fucking Satan. Who knows? Who cares? They still use God. They could just say something about a higher power, something greater than you. Your higher self. I like universe and higher self. Because it's all totally legit. We'll talk about that in a video or two later. But we're going to do a lot of eating disorders. I'm going to film a lot. And then I'll be posting. I was going to do 2-part. The next part will be part 2. I'm almost done with this. Step 11 says, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understand God, praying for only the knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry it out. God. That's what she, that's her issue with it. I don't pray, not really. I meditate, and I use affirmations. Like I think I said in one of my first video about manifestation coach Joseph Ally, God's name in the Bible is I am, meaning you are God. I am God. I am God of my own fucking reality. Doesn't mean I don't believe in any other higher beings or God or whatever, because I do. All of it. But I am God. Thank you. You are all God of your own fucking reality. Manifest that shit. I affirm, I manifest, I do lots of stuff. And I meditate. I do guided meditations. I don't have the patience and thing to just sit there and meditate in silence with my own thoughts if they're just crazy. I need to do a guided meditation. Then there's the 12 traditions as well. I don't know as much about the 12 traditions. It's 12 steps. This says, tradition 2 says, for our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as expressed in our group conscious. Our leaders are but trusted servants. They do not govern. It's too religious. See, it's so religious. In this circle of healing, we learn to trust a higher power who loves us unconditionally and to turn our will and our lives over to this loving power. As we recovered, we've come to experience this higher power, spirit of life itself, at work within us, empowering us to live without any illusion of control. I don't mind that statement. We learned that sobriety is a gift from our higher power and that we can ask for this gift on a day-to-day basis or a meal-by-meal basis. We learned that when we honestly ask for the grace to surrender for this meal, we received it. I'm not that bothered by that statement either. Like, these are the statements that she's bothered by that has to do with religion. I'm not bothered by either one of those. This made me laugh. Her fourth con is that ABA has cult-like aspects. Tradition 1 says, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends on ABA unity. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, kids. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. If you go to an ABA meeting, don't drink anything. Tradition 5 says, each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to anorexic and bulimics who still suffer. I don't understand why that's cult-like, but whatever. Each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to the anorexics or bulimics who still suffer. I mean, that's what their group does. I don't know why that's cult-like. That's what AA does. I mean, is anyone here for the first time? If so, ask a sober member to speak to the newcomer, outlining what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now as a result of joining the fellowship and from working the 12 steps. I don't know if that's cult-like, but it's kind of silly. But I think it's kind of silly, but I don't know about cult. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Maybe I'll go into this more later, but I do need to wrap this up. So yeah, this is a little bit. Oh, she did update a little bit. She said she got a source. She's emailed from an undisclosed source. Wait, what? Makes it clear. Oh, yeah. She read some other resources called Sobriety is Surrender. Makes it clear that the ABA line is that self-weighing is to be ceased entirely. You cannot weigh yourself. Okay. Okay, so then she says, in light of the post I recently wrote on normality, I was struck by this line. We surrender to the nutritional guidelines followed by normal eaters. I agree with her on this. Listen up. I found myself reflecting on the difficulty that many people might have in finding anyone whose version of normality is robustly healthy enough to take on that profound responsibility of being the meal supporter. To be a normal eater these days, sadly, means to be mildly disordered in one's eating. Hello to the world of Uber fast food. Literally, Uber, Grubhub, DoorDash, Postmates, Instacart's groceries, but they do, like, dollar stores use Instacart now. What do you get at dollar stores? Unhealthy food. Like, frozen meals, canned shit, and fucking packaged snacks. Some lines of wisdom that stood out to me, though. No one has ever died from feeling their feelings. It takes as long as it takes. Baby steps. I'm not in a hurry. I also like the distinction between trying and doing. For full sobriety, we do not try. We surrender fully by the grace of a higher power. So often the former is the enemy of the latter, whether or not you subscribe to these notions of surrendering to the higher power, of surrender and the higher power. Yeah, so this makes clear that sobriety for a co-founder of a long-term sobriety member of ABA looks nothing like remission, let alone recovery. And this is worrying. To admit that is indeed pretty much the opposite of needless. The resource audio. So one of the founders of the EDA, she uses explicitly religious language. God gave us ABA. Unless I am surrendered to God around my food, my exercise, and my weight, and the shape of my body, I am not sober. Including in talking about her own sobriety, by the grace of God, I have been sober now for a bunch of 24 hours. How did my video just start? 24 hours since the last time I puked. Self-righteous. This is a very interesting way of describing long-term remission. It's also clear that long-term remission is not a fact that Joan has achieved. She introduces herself right at the start by saying, "My name is Joan. I'm a chronic anorexic of the hopeless variety and a compulsive overeater." You're a hopeless anorexic of the you're a chronic anorexic and a compulsive overeater. How does that work? One of the founders of the ABA, kids. I still have an anorexic mind, needless to say. That I understand. Oh, Jesus. She emphasizes the importance of not eliminating foods and explains the point of having meal support as opposed to making food plans. She especially highlights the distinction between abstinence and sobriety and the ABA definition of drug, not food, but the insane eating practices aimed at control. She talks about why the ABA was founded and the difference between ABA and other 12-step eating disorder programs, though the reader who shared the link remarked that in this, she actually misrepresents EDA. I can't. And then it links to prove that. It links to an link at the bottom of her article. So there's that. Very interesting stuff. I'm still gonna go through the steps, and we're gonna see. I'm gonna go through them, and I'm gonna go through them here. Like I said, I've written some of them out through a workbook that I found and from the EDA, and I started going through them. I was on step 4. I'll keep moving through them, and I'm gonna film some more videos. So you're gonna be seeing me in this outfit in a couple videos. Didn't mean for this to be so long. Maybe I'll cut it in half and have it only be 2 and 2, like 20 minutes. 22 minutes, 24 minutes. All right. Till next time, llama buddies. Namaste. I'm sorry. Namaste, bitches. Like, share, comment, and subscribe.
I am brash. I am sassy.